Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast. I am your host, Tara LaFawn Gooch, and this is the last episode of Season 2. So thank you for everyone who supported us for the first 2 seasons. Season 3 is coming up, and it's going to be on fire. But the best way to cap off Season 2 is by interviewing my friend and colleague, who I can't wait to introduce you to. So she does it all. She helps early career physicians. She is an excellent mentor to her peer group of physicians, and she really works to support physicians through burnout, but absolutely helps them on the prevention part of it the most, which is why we're having this conversation, because burnout is actually related to confidence in a lot of ways, and it's impacting our physician community especially. Amna, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Tara. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so glad to be here. My full name is Dr. Amna Shabbir. As you kindly introduced me, I love working with early career physicians. I'm a certified health and wellness coach. I'm also a master certified life coach. Clinically speaking, I am a board certified geriatrician and internist. So I love working with early career physicians, and I love caring for older adults in clinical spaces that covers pretty much the wide spectrum. And I also like to call myself a super mom of 2 young girls, because as women, we tend to diminish or undermine the other roles that we can't put on our parent resumes or CVs. So being a mother is very much a part of my life, as are other things.
And your little girl's so cute. So we had lunch not that long ago. When was that? Was it almost a year ago? Time flies so fast. I can't even keep up anymore. But we had lunch. I came to your neck of the woods and near the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina, and we had fun. We had your 2 girls, my girl there, and we were just having a really fun lunch and getting to know each other. But we met on LinkedIn just kind of organically. I think it was an introduction from someone else. And we hit it off, and you bought my book, and, we've since had conversations about it. But I would love to know, your journey a little bit more, because, you're doing all of these amazing things. You're helping physicians now. You're helping them both professionally and personally live better lives. But was it always this way? Was it always this way? Take us back to a time a little bit when things were just a little different.
Tara, it was not always like this. And as is with life, we have to acknowledge the seasonality and the ebb and flow of life. Physician training and physician life is hard. Nobody goes into this profession thinking it will be easy, but there are certain things that you expect or you hope or you think, and then real life starts, and the expectation and the reality, there's a big difference. We talk about physician burnout, but another term that I really want to introduce, and I feel like we should talk about that in the same sentence, is moral injury when it comes to physicians and healthcare workers and the work that is done. Moral injury was initially studied in Vietnam War veterans when they had symptoms that sort of fell in the criteria for PTSD, but not really. Mm-hmm. And we talk about moral injury in healthcare workers is basically you standing on the sidelines and not being able to provide the care that you want to your patients, and then when that really ties your hands that you can't give them the care that they deserve, and you absolutely have been trained to provide but cannot, due to a variety of reasons, starting from insurance limitations to other system issues or logistical issues. That starts to create insults and then ultimately leads to moral injury. So when I graduated from medical training, as when I finished my residency, which was in internal medicine, I started working full-time as a primary care physician in a large hospital system, traditional healthcare that is present all over the US. I wouldn't say I was in a very unique situation. The system is not cut out to support primary care physicians. The work that primary care physicians do in one day is the equivalent of maybe more than multiple hours. And we all know that we all get the same 24 hours in a day. So as an early career physician, burnout started, moral injury started. I was filling out all the paperwork so that my patients could get those medications that they absolutely deserved and needed. And that was the best quality of care. But due to limitations, could not. And then you would have to go back and forth trying to get medications approved, the prior authorization process. And that was just like, I'm giving two small examples here, but there's so much more. And in the first couple of months, I felt both burnout and moral injury set in. And as a South Asian woman, I'm trained and raised to act as a perfectionist, and I am a recovering perfectionist right now. I did not want to first acknowledge to myself that this was happening, and I definitely do not want to acknowledge to the other people. And as an early career physician, when you start your job, you also want everybody to respect you, to take you seriously. So you really don't want to let anybody know if you are tired and struggling. And when I say struggling, it wasn't what to do clinically, because, when you get done with training, all the medical knowledge is perfect. It's everything else. I couldn't magically create more hours in the day. I had to work within what was provided, and it was exhausting and depleting. And so all the hallmark signs of burnout started setting in. And fast forward, before the pandemic, I was pretty crisp from burnout, even before the pandemic started. So during this time, I also had my second child. I struggled with postpartum depression. All in all, it was just not a good time. And then when the pandemic happened, everything was multiplied tenfold. I have some other physical health challenges come up too. One day I asked myself, and this was almost, I practiced primary care for about 4 years. There were lots of tears. And the other day I said, every good thing that has happened in my life has also started with a really good cry. And so lots of tears happened that day. I asked myself, I want to walk away from medicine completely because I feel so depleted. I have nothing else to give right now. So self-preservation called for that. So option one was to walk away completely. Option two was to pause and ask myself what still gave me joy and what I wanted to build on as a physician. And the answer was I love taking care of older adults. Also realizing that I needed more training. We tend to oversimplify care that is very complex. The needs of older adults are very complex. So my answer to my burnout was more medical training. I went back for a fellowship in geriatrics. That experience allowed me some space and time. And after completing my fellowship, I then now work clinically part-time. I still could not go into full-time clinical practice because I felt so depleted. And then there were all these other things that were coming up when I decided to go part-time. What are you going to work part-time? That's why you did all this training, and so on and so forth. I will elaborate a little bit more on that later, but that was my answer. And it has allowed me to give the care I want to my patients in a wonderful way that they deserve, in which I can be 100% whole and present with them, with their families. So that is wonderful. And the other aspect of this was when I started as an early career physician, things that were missing, things that were lacking is what I wanted to help other early career physicians with. So I formed the Early Career Physicians Institute, and I also have my own coaching practice, which is surrounded in specific to helping early career physicians thrive, but also at large, providing support to other healthcare workers. And we need more of these conversations. This was in a nutshell, my journey.
Wow, incredible. I picked up on something. You were already burning out before COVID. I am so sorry. And I can only imagine what that could feel like to already feel like you're succumbing to burnout, which probably involves depression, anxiety, all of these things, right? And then you get hit with a whammy like that nobody saw coming. And then you're dealing with some postpartum issues after the birth of your daughter. Doesn't sound like your body had any opportunity, your body or mind or spirit for that matter, had an opportunity to heal during this.
Tara, I liked how you separately mentioned those entities that, form a human, really, because we don't break that down. I never stopped to think the toll all of this was taking on my physical health. I never stopped to think the toll it was taking on my mental health or my family life or just my existence as a human, because we're not trained to do that. We just have to keep going. I know I'm talking about physicians and I'm talking about healthcare workers. I know that other professions similarly go through these challenges as well. For physicians, I can talk more because that's been my lived experience. You're right. I didn't pause. And I just felt that there were not enough hours in the day. And I'm never going to have enough energy to tackle everything. The treadmill that you're on, it just keeps going till you actively turn the plug off and step off of it. You're just going to deplete, exhaust yourself. And one of the most amazing things is, even as I'm having this conversation with you, I am thinking back to my past self who would have heard this conversation and was so cynical that she would laugh. And I have great compassion for anyone who's cynical, especially physicians that are deep in burnout, because I think the two classic symptoms of burnout that I was facing was just energy depletion, exhaustion. What I do doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And then cynicism was very real. Must be easy for her to talk about it. This thing, it doesn't apply to me. I can't make this decision. She probably has something else figured out. That's why she did it. So the othering and the cynicism was very real. The answer to that is really asking for help. That's what you need to do when you are feeling that way. And whenever I say this, I really and truly think back to that person that I was. I would just look at all these people talking about positive things, and I'm like, who are they? And, those things are very real. So stopping and pausing and checking in with yourself. How do you really feel? And really just sitting down and checking in with yourself physically. I mean, after medical training was done again, for the second time, after my fellowship, I went in for a health checkup. When I say health checkup, that is like me really dumbing this down, honestly, because I had to see multiple specialists. There was a lot going on, and it was all physical manifestations of stress, to the point this year I am afraid of dentists. I'm sharing that publicly. That's been something I've been working on. I finally found a great dentist and endodontist who have, worked with me concerning my anxiety that stemmed from early childhood. But I went for my dental care, and apparently I have a lot of physical manifestations of stress also happening in the oral area, and I just couldn't open my mouth wide enough for them to do the procedures. And the dentist had me palpate my muscles, and she's like, "You have been clenching your jaw." I'm like, "I'm not a jaw clencher. You ask this question to people. I mean, this is not me." And this is after being a coach, after getting all my other, thankfully, healthcare issues figured out. Largely, I'm doing much better. This is not what I expected my dentist to talk about stress and anxiety with me. And I was laughing. I'm like, wow, I thought now things were getting better, but thank you for pointing this out. And she then recommended physical therapy to me. So this is all the things we don't even think about.
Wow, incredible. Same. I totally relate to that. And you know what? A lot of people listening to this do. these manifestations that we're talking about of, stress and anxiety, they can manifest in different ways for different people. Sometimes it's clenching of the jaw. With me, I could literally feel a weight on my chest, and it was at times hard for me to feel like I could have a satisfying breath.
Yeah.
And if that resonates with you, right? Think about it. Think about it. If what we're saying resonates with you and you say, oh my gosh, I literally thought I was having breathing problems. Why would a 30-year-old have breathing problems? It was anxiety, and it literally felt like a weight on my chest, and I could not get a satisfying breath. So if anybody is experiencing these things, maybe let's, take some pause and reflection, because your life is worth living, and this is not living life, right? If we're experiencing these symptoms. But what I want to hit on was something you said in the first part of our conversation, which was, I think you used the word, I've always been a perfectionist. I'm thinking I'm not a doctor. I'm thinking that could be some root cause, right? To some of these symptoms that we're constantly feeling like I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. If I don't do this one more thing, I'm not validated. And sometimes that causes us to overwork and overstress and overwhelm ourselves. What do you think about that?
Tara, I smiled and I laughed because absolutely, the phrase never enough, and amazing book written on the same title. I'm hoping to share more about that. It really, I had to ponder and I had to think about it, because that is exactly what it is. Constantly thinking that you have to appear a certain way, be a certain way, achieve a certain amount of things. It's exhausting. While in the start, that's exactly what you want to think. You starting your career, you're thinking about all these things that you want to achieve. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can feel great about what you have achieved and inspire yourself to go forward and achieve more, but not at the cost of your sanity, your mental health, your happiness. It doesn't have to be that way. So when perfectionism, people think that perfectionists want things to be perfect. No, it's pathological. It doesn't stop. You are constantly wanting things to be a certain way. And I was very much that way. I wanted my life to appear flawless. I think the word is flawless. I wanted to physically appear flawless. I wanted to have my family life appear that way. And, when you have children, that's not how your house looks. And it's okay. But I think that I talk a little bit about South Asian culture, and I know that there are so many variations within that. I'm very much acknowledging that, but it also can be any other culture. Like in general, the message to women is that you have to have it all together and you have to be perfect. And I very much internalized that message. And my solution to my burnout initially, when I was brainstorming ideas and not realizing why I feel this awful, was like, if I work more, I think that's going to solve this problem. So I kept saying yes to projects that didn't align with my goals. And frankly, I just didn't have time to do them. I mean, how many times have you just kept saying yes to things to you so you can get external validation, not recognizing, hey, you have to eat, you have to sleep, you need exercise, you need to be able to look at the other humans in your life. You need to be somebody, not just the profession that you're in. So I didn't do that. You have to slow down and you have to look around. So I think that was a really big component in feeding into how I felt, feeding into both my burnout and feeding into worsening my postpartum depression, what was happening, this yearning to be perfect. And it's a dopamine hit, because I would hear this from people at my home. Look at Amna. She's working full time. She's taking care of 2 kids. Her house looks great. She dresses well. And you're like, yes, I am that person. Yes, dopamine hit, and keep going, keep going. You have to stop that. Some days you're not going to put on makeup. Some days, most days, your house will be a mess. It's okay. You're going to try and do things to keep it clean. But I had a thing with clutter, and things will be cluttered when they're little children. And so you have to ask yourself, and at work, You can say yes to everything, but you have to ask yourself, can you actually handle all of it?
And is it making me fulfilled?
Yes.
I mean, can we not ask ourselves these questions, right? I feel like so much of this is caused by us trying to impress other people, but we forget about what's impressing us, what's making us feel good, right? And I'm as guilty as this, as anybody, really. And we all have different reasons, but the power comes when you're living in the present and when you can say no to things that don't serve you. It really makes you feel powerful. And on the surface, at first you're thinking, I'm saying yes to a lot of things. So that means I know a lot. That means you know, people respect me. It means that I'm highly sought after. And of course, that's still true. But when you start to say no to things, that's when you actually become that rare, almost like a diamond, right? And it puts you on an even higher level just by saying no to things, which is really cool. But this confidence that, I think we should touch on, it's a personal development journey. And a lot of people are on this, a lot of high achieving people, men, women alike, right? No cultural boundaries. We're really trying our best in lives to, achieve certain things, but why? What is the why, right? And I think going back to the why and finding that alignment with self is going to be key in order for us to, feel fulfilled. But it is a curious thing though. Some people, they, have perfection tendencies, but I do think it's brought back by a foundation of a lack of confidence to a certain extent, right? That feeling like we have to prove ourselves more and do more and constantly achieve something. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And confidence is everything, Tara. You have to, I say confidence starts with the way you view yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that in your book, you have so neatly put everything together, the cardinal things that we need to touch on. And I see it behind you're sitting in your frame. I can see it all too. And I have the book right here with me. So it's everything. It's how you view yourself. Why are you seeking that external validation? What is lacking of your view of yourself? And then from there, it just stems forward in your communication skills. I think what's lacking in medical education and the way physicians specifically work, we talk about communication skills in detail. A lot of people think that physicians do not have specific training to that. I heard some people talk about it on air too. Physicians get a lot of training surrounding communication skills with patients, talking about hard conversations. How are you supposed to carry yourself afterwards? Yes, can these be better? Absolutely. But what about the communication that you're going to have with yourself about your own needs and how you are going to advocate for your personal and professional needs? So what ends up happening from a lack of confidence is you are burning out from there. There would be a straight line that you can draw, because when you're not going to advocate, first, you're not going to view your own self in a very specific way. Your confidence with yourself is affected. Then you're going to not believe in your own worthiness. So you're not going to think that you need the rest and the sleep and the ability to say no to things. Then you're not going to advocate for yourself. You're also not going to say no because of fear of retribution. A lot of other fears that often are very real. But then if enough people start saying no, that's how change starts to get created. So from a lack of confidence, you're also not going to advocate for your basic physiologic needs, such as rest, sleep, appropriate hydration, nutrition, exercise. Those are basic things. Let's talk about basic things first. And then going forward, from a lack of confidence, you're also not advocating for your professional advancement, for that promotion, for that research, for that office, for everything that follows afterwards. You're probably going to end up chronically under-earning, and you're not really living up to your potential. really that question, what are you going to do with this one amazing, wonderful life that you have? A lack of confidence is affecting that. And then a lot of times it's not just what's happening within the clinical walls of your hospital or your clinic setting or wherever you're practicing, but also at home. If you are in a partnership relationship with another physician spouse, how are you showing up? With a non-physician spouse, how are you showing up? How are you showing up with a lack of confidence in every other relationship that you have with a human? I think that confidence building is a core skill which all physicians should have very specific training on.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so true. And it impacts our careers, but also our, relationships, as you said, and then our finances. There's a really good famous quote, Carnegie Institute of Technology. They say that 85% of our financial success is due to our interpersonal skills, our ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. 15% of our financial success, folks, is technical knowledge. Wow. So if we think about this communication like you're talking about, how we communicate with ourselves. And you know what? To tell you the truth, we don't talk about that a lot, right? There's a lot of leadership training out there that talks about and discusses how to talk to other people, but not a lot that say how to talk to ourselves. And you know what? It starts with ourselves, because in order for us to lead a team of many, and a lot of physicians are doing just that, we first have to learn how to lead a team of one. What do you think about that?
I completely agree, Tara. Your day starts with you getting up and dressing yourself and doing all your morning routine before you go in. And then you start your patient care as a physician, and then all the other leadership activities that you're going to do, and other people, like your morning routine. If you stand in front of the mirror in the morning and you can't look at the mirror, in some cases, I've been there. And at other times, you don't have time to look in the mirror, because I've also been there. And you don't want to look in the mirror. You can't advocate for the reflection that you see of yourself in the mirror. How are you then going to go and lead other people? How are you then going to go and literally care for other humans from pouring from an empty cup? When you do not have the confidence, the ability to have that level of security within yourself, everything else after that is going to be frail and fragile. It's not going to be strong. It's not going to be grounded. Being grounded and confident in your own worthiness, so that you're not constantly putting that in the air and focusing objectively. I mean, this all sounds really like it feels good, but also objectively speaking, how can you have an interaction with another human with clarity when you're not even clear about who you are to begin with?
Ooh, that's a mic drop moment right there. How can we have positive interactions with other people? We don't have one with ourselves. So I challenge everybody listening, whether you're a physician or not, right? Because a lot of the people that listen to this show, they're entrepreneurs and executives, and they hear this from their perspective as well, because we're all going through this. But I challenge everyone listening to really reflect on these things that we talked about today. Some of the things that we discussed were signs and symptoms of burnout. Are we being overly cynical? Are we saying yes to a lot of things that don't serve us? And ultimately, how does it make us feel? But then, how are we talking to ourselves? What conversations are we having with ourselves? Because we all have them. And are they positive or negative? Are they ruminating thoughts that are detrimental, or are they positive, growth-expanding thoughts that lead to potential? These are some of the things I want us all to think about, because we're all human. We're all subjective to this to some degree because of societal pressures and other things. So let's use some time to explore these self-concepts and just identify these areas. But what would you say if you could give our listeners just one good piece of advice? Let's say somebody's listening to this and they did resonate with something, And maybe they didn't even realize it was there before you and I started talking about this. What could they do today? What's one step they could do in the right direction to start helping themselves a little bit?
The first step I would say is, if any of this resonated with you, please talk to a trusted human. Ask for help. Is this person your friend, a family member, a mentor, a coach, a peer, your counselor, anyone, any human? Because if you're having this if you're thinking and feeling a certain way, answering the questions of these conversations with yourself and having that internal dialogue sometimes is very challenging and difficult, but talking to somebody you trust who will hold safe space for you will be the first step in the right direction. Asking for help is that. And I also want to preface this one thing is confidence is not arrogance. There's a really big, wide chasm between that. I know a lot of very compassionate and empathic humans feel that way, that by being confident, they might be becoming arrogant. And please know that things are different. Confidence is rooted in your worthiness. And so today, if any of this resonated with you and you need, please seek help. I also want to lastly, just give a quick disclaimer to Tara. Anything that we talked about, this was not medical advice. So if you're having any other symptoms, please seek help from your healthcare provider. That's very important as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And I completely agree. Confidence is not arrogance. It's all about your authenticity, being your authentic self. That is the furthest thing from arrogance, folks. So thank you so much for imparting your wisdom on us today. My friend Amna, I so appreciate you. And thank you for everyone who tuned in. Guys, this show is not possible without your support. So please leave a review, share this with your networks. Let us know who are your favorite guests and if you want them back on the show for another round, because we're doing that. But thank you so much for everyone who tuned in today. We will catch you all on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.